A lot of people kind of explain bullying as, kids overpowering each other in a playground, but it's a lot bigger than that. It's a lot broader than that. There's a lot of more contextual issues. So give me the real depth of what True Colors means to you.
The cool thing about True Colors is that as a nonprofit, I'm not only working to help one platform. My platform is huge. I just want to be able to help everywhere where it's needed, empower people, not only women, but also the LGBTQ, also men, why not? Also children, why not elderly, those that have been forgotten. Let's do something together as a community and make the difference. That's what True Colors is all about. I feel that nowadays we have so many resources that a lot of people can use, but we need to know where to find them. I want to teach people, I want to educate them, and I want to create opportunity as well. You can change their day, their month, their year, or even their life. And to me, that's my purpose.
Welcome to Compassiviste Dialogues. I'm your host, Ali Horiat. My goal in this program is to educate our audience about various world issues and on how we can help. Today, we have Mrs. Carla Marquez. She's the founder of True Colors, which we'll get to in a minute. And each event here at True Colors is created to help raise money. And it all goes to stopping a traumatizing experience, bullying. Many have been through it, many have seen it, many have been a part of it. And Carla here is here to stop it. Mrs. Marquez is also a pageant queen for Mrs. International and loves to empower women of all ages. I will let her introduce herself and tell us who she is and who this first Latina pageant since 1975 is crowned Mrs. Carla Marquez. Welcome, Carla.
Thank you so much, Ali. Thank you for the opportunity. My name is Carla Marquez. As you said, I am Mrs. International 2023, celebrating my 365 crowning moment today. So thank you very much. We won the Compassion Crown of the Mrs. International TKS last year, being the first Mexican woman to bring a international crown for Mexico or for Latina women. Most importantly, Mexico, number 245, the first one to be won in the year of 2023 for Mexico. So I'm very thrilled and excited, humble for that. I am also the founder of True Colors, the nonprofit organization, as you mentioned. I always work with my team to create events, in a sense, to bring funds for helping not only the bullying, which is very important to me, but we also help different platforms, different causes, which I am honored and humbled to do so.
Great. And you're the queen of compassion. So this really fits well with Compassiviste. You're our queen right now because that's what we do. We try to tell people what matters is compassion, and if everybody can lead with compassion, I think there's no problems in the world. But that's the problem itself, trying to get to that space of leading with compassion. And really, that's what you
Exactly.
do. That's what you do with True Colors. So what is True Colors specifically? How did you even come about to do this? Because a lot of times with platforms such as yours, you are Mrs. International, so that's a global platform. It's not, you didn't win something that's on in your neighborhood or that the street you're on. You're global. So as a global person, you're advocating for bullying, which we've talked before, and you bring in very good angles into bullying that a lot of people don't. A lot of people kind of explain bullying as kids overpowering each other in a playground, but it's a lot bigger than that. It's a lot broader than that. There's a lot of more contextual issues. So give me the real depth of what True Colors means to you, where it started, everything.
True Colors, Ali, started 5 years ago, and it just started as an event. I didn't really have an open vision of what I wanted from True Colors at the time, 5 years ago. All I wanted to do, in a sense, was to help the community out in any way. Um, at the time, I named it True Colors because True Colors to me is like a rainbow that carries different colors. Every color has a different meaning to me, per se. So back in the days when I started True Colors, I started making pop-ups to empower women that were starting their own small businesses. Because as a Latina, I always feel that we have a lot of disadvantages when you want to start your own small business. So I wanted to try to find a way of helping out other women, not just women, but male as well, people that were just starting their own businesses. So I created an event where I would bring 50, 60 different businesses. And of course, I would charge them a fee. And this fee was to be used to help a cause. Like the first
Mm,
year I created a cause or I wanted to gather money, it was to help a girl with their education. She wanted to become a makeup artist, a hairstylist, get her licensing and everything. So True Colors was able to do this, change her life. The following year, I did the same thing with the pop up and helped a person that had diabetes, had lost his vision, and all these funds were put into him. And as I saw that my credibility was growing, um, people wanted to do more of what I was doing, people that wanted to be part of what I was doing. I thought, why not, doing it a nonprofit? But I didn't really know the process. And everything started this last year when I went to Asia to compete for the Mrs. International TKS. That's when I had the biggest or the bigger vision of, bringing True Colors into being a nonprofit legally now. Why? Because I had worked so much for my community for years, and
mm,
I learned in Mrs. International TKS that this was a pageant based on kindness, compassion, what you could do for your community, for other people in general. So when I came back as the winner of the Crown of Compassion, I learned so much in this trip. I learned that we as humans could do so much to help out, and I wanted to make a difference in a bigger way. And True Colors, once it started as just a pop-up event.
mm,
I wanted to bring in the LGBTQ family, not because I am part of them, but because I had so many family members in the community that were being rejected, that were being abused, that were being criticized, that were being bullied. I myself had been bullied in so many ways, but I had not understand the real meaning of being bullied. And this really opened an entire world for me where I was like, I want to continue doing what I'm doing, but just bringing everyone into what I'm doing, into this project. And just the fact that I started 5 years ago and then I came back as the winner from Mrs. International for that compassion crown, I feel like I had a bigger purpose, Ali, and I wanted to
mm.
use my platform the more that I could. And I've been doing so for all this year. People have been incredibly amazing. They've been supporting everything that I do. I think they're understanding the message behind True Colors, and I'm loving it. And I'm actually gonna be working harder every day as I go to you know, bring awareness of what bullying is, what empowerment is. The cool thing about True Colors is that as a nonprofit, I'm not only working to help one platform, my platform is huge. I just want to be able to help everywhere where it's needed, empower people, not only women, of course, mostly women because I am a woman, but also the LGBTQ, also men, why not? Also children, why not elderly, those that have been forgotten? Let's do something together as a community and make the
Mhm.
difference. That's what True Colors is all about.
And that's exactly what it is. I'll pick up on the last thing you said. I don't think we need to really compartmentalize each other and say, you're a woman, I'll help you, you're a man, I won't help you. And this has become a problem in the world because we find so many not just nonprofits, so many people, when they want to give and support and do something for their community, they say, "Oh, it helps women. I'm going to do it. It helps this. I'm going to," and you kind of place your compassion in one box. And I think it's really difficult if you're compassionate about the environment as a whole, your community as a whole. How are you not caring about the old man, who put so much effort into building this community over so many years so that you can be here today in this empowered state? And I love what you said about that. It's a community thing. It's not about, I only help women because, yes, there are issues. We all need to do our part to help women, but then to target in that way, it kind of breaks the bond of communities. And I like that you're trying to keep that bond together, and that's really what compassion is about. Now, speaking of bullying, when you advocate for, basically advocate to stop this, what are you targeting in a sense? I mean, what is it that, if the time came and you were able to control bullying, what is it that you stop? I mean, are you expecting zero bullying? Because that's a little impossible in a sense. But what is the truth of what you want to do with your movement?
Well, in reality, you said something very important, Ali. I think bullying, it's never going to be over with. But if we can have a good communication with our children to begin with, as a mother of two, I would invite every parent to have an open communication with their children, to look for the signs of what bullying is. And once we have our younger generations really understand how bullying looks like, how being bullied makes you feel like, I think you bring that awareness. So I feel that if we together as a community can, bring awareness and educate our younger generations, even our older generations, people like me or my parents who actually suffered, bullying in our own skin. When I was a little girl, I didn't even know that I had suffered, that I had been bullied for so many years, until now I recognize what I felt and what it was. I feel that, you know, creating that awareness can actually prevent so many things, even suicide. A lot of kids, a lot of adults,
Mhm, mhm,
a lot of people from different ages have committed suicide. And I think that if we could all come up with a fun way of creating this awareness, creating this community in which, I could empower you in a sense to uplift your self esteem, to actually,
mhm,
bring out your voice and say, hey, wait a minute, you cannot treat me this way, but in a kind way, because we need to have empathy. We don't know what the person that is bullying you going
mhm,
through. We need to understand that side too. So once we are able to understand the person that's bullying us, then we have that empathy because we're being educated, and we can have this connection, not only to prevent ourselves from being bullied, but to help the person that's being the bully.
mhm. Exactly. And you know what? You can go as far as Jesus himself, not to get religious, but I mean, here's a person being bullied in his last moments, and he is requesting forgiveness because they don't know. That's what he's saying. He's saying, let them be. They don't know. They're doing this, but they don't know. They have trauma themselves. They have pain themselves, so they don't know. So the compassion level there is so high that, that's how the reaction is. And I don't think anybody can be that because, there's no two of them. But
Exactly.
if the world to Jesus is, the world would be perfect. But there isn't. And so, but I don't like when people, they don't understand the spectrum of it. So compassion is kind of like from here to here as a spectrum. It's not a block. It's not you have compassion or you don't have compassion. It's how much compassion can you put into a situation. So like you said, when you're being bullied, you stand up for yourself, but in a way to kind of relate to the other person, to relate to the other force, and try to see how you can balance this and how you can embrace it and how you can live with it in a way, as opposed to saying, I'm not going to have compassion in this situation, or I'm going to have compassion in this situation and let it go all the way. So that spectrum that you brought up is really important. And I love that you again bring up the family issue, because a lot of parents, and I see this with my friends a lot. I see this around the world, and it's not an American or Latin American. It's nothing like that. It's global. They send their
Mhm.
kids to school, okay, and they think that they have nothing to do with that world. That is the teacher, and you see that they send them, and the kid comes back, and at best it's like, oh, how was school today? And the kid's expected to talk about the class and what they learned, and this, and that's it. There's no deep interference in a sense of the child's school day, and you're responsible for that child. You can't do that. But then the pandemic was a blessing in a way, because a lot of kids were in school, and a lot of my friends, they would say, do you know what happened today? They were in their Zoom call in class, and one kid said this, and that's bullying, and they just, parents started getting involved. And I said, you think this happened today? This has been happening for the last 10 years that your child's been going to school. You just were never there because you didn't know. So this
Exactly.
education you're talking about, the parents, is key in every community. Parents have to be involved, you know, from the top down. And something about the Latin community I love, and um, I think a lot of Americans embrace this with the kind of arrival of the Latin mix into the American lifestyle, is the family contribution. There's a lot of family connections. I have Latin friends, and it doesn't matter how you live, what you do, whatever. There is always that family bond that is not necessarily there in some of the other cultures. And I think when that happens, it helps through the problems. It helps through suicide. It helps through addiction. It helps through debts. I remember I had a friend of mine, he wasn't really wealthy, but one day he said, we need to raise some money. I said, why? He said, my cousin Pedro, that was his cousin, he has some debt, he owns the bakery and this and that. He has some debts. We need to help him. And another one of my friends who was never with family, really didn't grow up that way, he was shocked. He's like, why doesn't he get a loan? Why do you have to help him? Are you also owner in the, he was asking questions that he just didn't understand that community under perspective, right? It was very systemic. And a lot of examples like this, it reminds me. And we raised the money. I chipped in, he chipped in, other people, everybody chipped in, and the bakery stayed open, right? And then the community was happy. And then there was a big fiesta, and there was a party and a dance and a barbecue and everything else. So it's uplifting, like you said in the beginning of the show. It's not about sad stories. It's not about, I don't want you to come on this show and tell me of the most horrific episode of bullying that you saw, because people can find that where they need to. We don't need that. What we need is, how are we going to fix it? How are we going to uplift it? How are we going to make people happier and better? So, I love that you're doing it from that uplifting perspective and bringing the community and the parents into it. What do you do about a new form of bullying? And I'm talking about social media, online, things that we didn't experience as children, right? Because when I was a child, bullying happened in the school. It happened, that kind of thing. Because outside of school, it was really you and your community of children in the neighborhood, and everybody kind of knew each other and all that. Most of the bullying happened in school, and then the rest of the bullying happened, outside, when you grew up, when you started socializing in the
Mhm.
world, you went into the city, and you realized, there's a lot more than what you learned in school. But today it's different for kids. They don't have just
Exactly.
that one barrier. There's this open world of bullying that people hide behind these screens and bully. What do you do?
Well, totally. Ali, nowadays we do have a lot of forms of bullying, cyberbullying, verbal bullying, physical, etc. Um, you've touched a point that I think that is very sensitive, and I've mentioned it now, the cyberbullying, which is social media. We have a lot of our children in social media, Instagram, TikTok. A lot of kids have actually committed suicide as well. Why? Because they are focused in seeing, whatever we see in social media, it's not always the truth. We are always seeing perfection, and perfection does not exist. This is something that children will not be able to understand further age. Um, but once again, here is where we have to talk to them a lot. I'm always very close to my daughters, and I see everything that they see. One of my daughters is always worried about her weight because she sees TikTokers that are super thin, that they're always showing themselves, taking supplements to lose weight when they're
Mm.
like, 10, 12. I have an open communication with them. I say, yes, you can take supplements when you grow up, as you grow up, but right now you are developing. So I feel that the way that we as parents talk to our kids, the communication and bond that we create with them can make them understand that, whatever is in social media, it's not all real. And when someone sends you a message telling you you're fat, you're ugly, you're darker than I am, or, I mentioned to you earlier about racism, because that covers a lot of things as well. They can call you a binner because you're from Mexico. That creates some type of insecurity. um, I feel that once you have this connection as a family, as a friend, because not only your children can go through it, but you can have a friend that's actually going through it. And you don't need to be a child. You yourself can actually experience it. I've experienced it myself when I've gotten messages every day. I mean, I do have to look perfect in social media at all times because I am a beauty queen, right?
Mm.
And sometimes, guess what? I am not perfect. Sometimes I post myself just when I wake up, and I love to showcase myself without makeup, with my crazy hairdos, in my PJs. Why? Because I've gained that level of self esteem throughout the
Confidence.
years. Confidence, yes, where guess what? I really don't care if you have something negative to say about me. Why? Because I've accepted myself just the way I am. I love myself just the way I am
Mhm.
with all my flaws because perfection does not exist. But I say this because I already lived through it. I went through it since I was a kid when people would make fun of me, you know, uh, for my English wasn't the best. It still isn't. And I
Mhm.
really don't care. I feel like a superstar.
You know,
I told you I feel.
I feel you. No, I feel you 100% because you said something really cool there, and um, I am confident and I'm comfortable with me. And sometime I had this conversation, and someone said, "Well, what about your flaws?" And I said, "What flaws?" And they said, "That's arrogant." And I said, "No, don't look at it from the arrogant side. I'll explain to you what I mean so you understand that it's not arrogant. It's actually humble." I said, "I don't find flaws in me because when I present myself and when I communicate and when I interact and when I exist, I'm happy in my existence, wholly, fully happy in my existence. So I don't find flaw because this existence is beautiful the way I'm living it. I'm blessed, I'm happy, I'm grateful for every piece of my existence. So I don't have time to think if I was a little taller, if I was a little skinnier, if my nose was a little this way or that way. I don't have that because I feel so happy with who I am. And so that's why I'm perfect, because I am happy with who I am, not because I'm going to stand in front of Brad Pitt and say I'm better looking than you. No, but because there is not that level for me to have to compare or for me to have to go out and seek other perfections for me to relate to. And so I find with children, like you said, a lot of times they try to relate to a curated and a sculpted image.
Mhm.
And even if that image is real, the fact that you compare to that image, is a showing that there's something here that's not sitting comfortably yet. And until that sits comfortably, you're always going to look everywhere to see where, it's that capitalist mentality, but in everything, in beauty, in your house, your neighbor, his husband is nicer than my husband, and everything plays on people's minds when they think that way. But when you're in that flow, in your space, in your love, like you said, I love myself, when you're in that space of I love myself, you as a Mrs. Universe can take a picture with one eye still closed like this and still feel beautiful in that picture, right?
And you actually transmit this, that was
Yes.
actually, as I'm listening to you, that was actually one of the questions they asked me when I was in Asia. And right now, as we're speaking, you took me back to that moment. And I feel that communication it's key. I'm gonna be bringing this up all the time because I want everyone that's listening to this. I want you to be really open and understand. that not only your children is going through it, not only you, it could be your sister, it could be your auntie, your tia, your husband, anyone around you can be going through it. But if you could just pay a little bit of attention, you will discover that they're going through so much. And they asked me, um, what makes you a bit different? What makes you stand out from the others? What makes you uh, say, I'm the most beautiful person ever from this world? And this was my answer. And I think that if everyone could put this into practice, no matter how bad they bully you, no matter how bad they want to make you feel ugly or fat or chaparrito, shorty, or anything you want to name or anything that has to do with bullying, if you put this into practice, you will be the happiest, sexier person ever. Because I said, in order for you to reach that level of wanting to say that you are the most beautiful person, that you love yourself just the way you are, it's like, I believe that you have to fall in love of your flaws before your virtues. So if you could reach that level and say, oh, I didn't like my short hair, I didn't like that I have such big eyes, my nose, my thick lips, or whatever, my height. If you could start seeing yourself from a different perspective, I mean, how many girls don't go and pay for them to have like thicker, nice lips? I have them natural. Guess what? I'm in love with my lips. I'm in love with my big eyes. A lot of girls would love to have my eyes. So once you start falling in love, see yourself in the mirror every day, fall in love of those flaws that you thought you had, um, you actually are able to transmit this. When you feel confident, you feel sassy, you feel attractive. I mean, when you walk in a room, people can feel you coming in because you have that strength, I would call. So even if it's a child, the other day, my 13-year-old, she was born with a mole right in, like in the middle of her forehead. And she would come crying to me many times from school because she hated it when they would call her Indian. And she said, Mommy, but I'm
Because
Mexican and
of
they
the
call me
Hindu, yeah.
Indian. And she was born with it. And I would say, Mama, but you are beautiful. I love it. No, Mommy, can I put makeup? I said, no, that's your mole. That's part of you. You have to love it. Ali, I had to be reminding her this every single day, until one day I actually took her to a juice bar in my neighborhood, which the owner is a Hindu. She's from India. And the first, I didn't have to say anything, but the first thing this woman told my daughter, I love your mole. And she tells me, please don't take her to India because everybody's going to want to marry her because this is a beauty sign. And
Yes.
then her perspective changed
Changed.
completely. She said,
Now
Mommy,
it's a
but
beauty mark.
now it's a beauty mark. So you guys see, one word can change people's way of seeing life in so many ways, and it's going to mark you forever, you know. So we have to educate ourselves, we have to educate our community and make that difference in someone's life. So I don't know,
Absolutely. You know,
I'm just like, I
I'm
get
gonna,
so passionate.
no, 100%. And I'm gonna tell you a story, and everybody listening, so you can share this. I was at a school once, and there was a celebrity at the school who had come in for a mental health talk, and they noticed that there was a young boy, and these were kids in around 8 to 9 years old, and one of the young boys, he had, a big scar that went all along his arm, and he got into a boating accident where the propeller almost cut the whole arm, like it opened in half, and the stitching and everything, so the line stays forever. And so, this person, this celebrity there, he had played a superhero. That's why he was famous, right, in the movies. And so when he noticed that, I noticed the arm too. He noticed it, but nobody had said anything. When he noticed that, and it was his time to speak, he went up and he said, what kind of superhero are you, to the kid, before he started talking. The kid's like, shocked, and he was very shy and everything because of this, right? And so he said, I'm not a super. He says, of course you are, because nobody gets a scar like that unless they're fighting really big evil people. He started naming people from his movie, and he's like, even those guys don't leave a scar like that. So I'll never want to face the people you faced, because I don't have the powers you have to overcome, right? So what was the story? And the kid, still nothing. And then he said, well, one day you're going to tell us. He's like, I had a boating accident. He says, no boating accident leaves a scar like that. You're just not telling us, the superhero you are. And so this became, and then the teacher, after a while, emailed me, and she said, the kid used to always sit like this in class, and now you could not imagine, like, in front of the girl he likes, he puts his arm out like that. And these are all 9-year-old kids, but still the confidence of the scar being something like empowering for him happened with 10 seconds out of a speech of one person who noticed this thing. So you're
Exactly.
absolutely right that, the right guidance, the right support, the right care, the right love, and the right space, and the right strength. I love that you stood your ground as well as a mother, because today a lot of parents are taking their kids to plastic surgery and all these things at ages that you don't even. I think sometimes I read about and I say, did I read can you look at this, does it say 15 here? Like, what are you doing? How are you raising this child? I mean, this child's going to, it's difficult. Why? Because, mom, my lips are like this. I want them to be like this. And I'm 15 years old. When I was 15 years old, I was trying to be Messi or Ronaldo, not them,
And
but the people before them. But it's very different. It's very different. And social media is doing that. You're absolutely right.
you know
Um,
what, right now, can
yeah.
I interrupt you real quick
Yeah.
right now
You're
that
not
you're talking
interrupting.
about plastic surgeries and all whatnot. And you're talking about the arm. It's like you're talking about myself. Like you're bringing out the perfect example of that child. That was me. That was me because I went through a lot of bullying because of that too. I have a big scar in one of my arms, and
Really?
yes, I
Wow.
have. Let me show you. So, and I
Yes,
want to
because
show it,
that
and I
that's
want to
so
show it
weird
because
that.
you guys, as a beauty queen, sometimes everybody expects you to be perfect. But this
Mm,
beauty queen in here is full of scars. 4 months before competing for the Mrs. International, and this is I've never really talked about this openly, and I'm doing it for the first time because of the awareness that I want to create. And you just touched something that really hit me right now, that I was like, oh, I need to share this with everybody listening, because everything's connected, to the bullying that we're talking about.
mm.
Sometimes, bullying it's so wide, it covers so much, and we would never stop talking about this. But 4 months before competing for the Mrs. International, I did go through surgery. I had to remove my breast implants that I had gotten for 10 years. And unfortunately, I take the decision of going to another state. I got a really bad infection. I had to have 5 surgeries because I was dying from a bacteria that was eating me up. Pretty much, you guys, it's a long story. I was about to die. The doctor came to the USA, left me with my stomach open. I mean, I'm here because God knows I am a living miracle. And ever since I realized I had a huge purpose, and I discovered my purpose. And this is why True Colors is so important to me, because I feel like I had a second opportunity of life, and I want to
A
use this
rebirth.
second chance, yeah, to actually change people's life in every single way that I can. So I don't know, you cannot really see, but in person you can. So when I was a little girl,
Mhm.
one of my sisters, she was having chicken soup, and I was less than a year old. Okay. And my mom told her, don't grab the chicken soup, don't grab the caldito, because you're going to burn your sister. And she didn't listen. She was carrying me. She threw the soup in my arm. So right now I'm a grown up. So you cannot really see my scar as much unless you are here.
Mm.
But I went through so much bullying, Ali, throughout my whole life. You would always see me wearing long sleeve because I was the Freddy Cougar from the class because of my scar. I would walk like this. If I was like forced to wearing a t-shirt just like I'm wearing right now, I would walk into like the rooms like this. And they would ask me, are you okay? Are you cold? And then I was like, no, yeah, no, I'm okay. Yeah. But that was just something, these are insecurities that other children create without even thinking, without
Mm.
even knowing. That's why
Yeah.
parents, we do have to pay a lot of attention to our children. Ask them, how are they doing right after school if you are picking them up and if you are working, come back home and ask them, how was your day? Was everything okay? This is the first thing I ask my children as soon as I see them. How was your day? Was everything? And you could actually read their gestures, their face, like their facial expressions.
Yes,
We
watch
understand.
for the signs. Yes,
Yes,
watch
watch
for the
for the signs.
signs.
And unfortunately, my parents saw this very normal for me to feel embarrassed and shy. They would never ask me, but because they lived different eras, different times where they were
Mhm.
not educated. I mean, they didn't even go to elementary, you know. So, I mean, I understand it now,
And mental health
but
was not an issue. It
it
was not an
wasn't.
issue. When we
It
grew up
wasn't
in school, it wasn't an issue. We're all.
exactly. So, um, nowadays, I come out wearing bathing suits. I am a model. I work in the industry, and I'm always like, people don't even notice until like I'm like, did you see my scar? Or sometimes when they want me, I'm like, is it okay? Like, and they're like, oh, I didn't even notice. Why? Because I gained this self confidence, but no one ever came and told me what this kid heard. I wish I would have heard someone like that at the time when I was a child,
Mm.
because that would have given me so much more strength and so
Yes,
much more power,
right,
you know, to
right.
feel loved, to feel accepted. But nowadays, I talk about my scars openly, you know, with my girls, anybody that I could see. And I'm like, you know, these scars, all these scars, if I get naked in front of you, I'm like a tiger. I'm like a, you know, I'm strong. I'm like a lion. And nothing, if I went through this, if I went through that, nothing is gonna ever defeat me. And then they're like, how do you do it? Teach me.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
then that's where the empowerment comes in. So sometimes I always say God always gives the strongest warriors the hardest battles. But then once
Yes.
he does, we need to know how to use this power, because I consider it
Hmm.
as a power, alley. So share it with your friends, share it with your children, share it with the community, because there's so many people out there that are having mental issues, that are wanting to, you know, commit suicide. I mean, how many people don't kill themselves every single day?
Hmm.
Children,
Hmm.
because they
Hmm.
feel not worthy, because they feel not loved, because sometimes parents ask themselves, but why did my kid have to do this? I mean, they don't even know what the child was going through.
Going
And I
through.
understand. I understand, as parents, we go through a daily routine every day where you get up, take your child to school, maybe go work a 9 to 5, you're tired. I understand that. We all go through that, but we need to understand. Get 10 minutes out of your time. Ask your child, how was your day? How are you feeling? Is something bothering you? Is someone touching you? Is because a lot of things are connected.
Yes.
A
And
lot
and
of
s-
things
and a
are
lot of it is
connected.
upsetting because when you say take 10 minutes out of your time, I get passionate about certain things. And children and animal, I get very passionate about because they don't have a voice. Even though children can speak, they don't have a voice because they're not mentally developed to know what that voice should say yet. So they're reliant on the people who care. I have a friend, and I remember, their kid came home from school, and he was watching a sports, updates and whatever on his phone, and the kid, how's your school? How's your day? And he's on the phone, right? And I took his phone, I put it in my pocket. I said, either you have to wrestle me to get it out of my pocket, or it's time out for you for 15 minutes. Take 15 minutes, deal with the child properly, and then you can watch a score from yesterday that is not going to change. It's not going to change. That
Yeah.
basketball game, the score is not going to change. So that can wait, but
Yeah.
this cannot wait. So time out like a child. I'm going to treat you like a child, my brother. But why? Because you're acting like a child, not a parent. So it's very important. Those issues always come back to these kind of places. And you're right, it's very important. And it's sad because a lot of people also don't understand, but I want people watching and listening to think you went through that. It happened when you're 1 year old, you said. You went through that for at least 20 something years of your life. It didn't stop at 16 and you're like, whatever, I'm going to live with it. It didn't. It probably, you won the pageant, you got all these modeling stuff that you're doing, so many things you had to do that enabled you to feel like, look, if I wasn't gorgeous, this paycheck from modeling would not come to me. Like,
Exactly.
those things had to happen for you to validate yourself, but it didn't happen from your mom or, from a neighbor or something like that for so many decades, right? And when you think about it, that's many, many hours in a day that you're concerned about that.
Yeah, unfortunately, I had to go through it. You just said it for over 20 years. I got into the modeling industry. I was very lucky and blessed since I was 16. And I was actually battling that. And I wouldn't be open when I had my castings, when I had to perform. I would always request a long sleeve and I would just tell them, I just feel comfortable. But it
Mm.
was just that fear I had inside,
Mhm.
that fear that other people had created in me. And sometimes I ask myself, I mean, how come people that were close to me didn't notice? I didn't have to even say it. They had to notice it. They had to pay
Yes.
attention to me.
Yes.
So really, in reality, it only takes 5 to 10 minutes of your day. I mean, we spend so much time in our phones, in social media,
Mhm.
watching TikTok, watching other people making money for them. Why not 5, 10 minutes to talk to your child, to talk to your friend, even if she's an adult? We all go through different traumas in our lifetimes that we sometimes don't have the courage to open up
Mm.
and talk about.
Yes.
So bullying, you guys, it's a very, I cannot find the word to describe. Every single people that goes through it, it's gonna be marked for life
Yes.
if he doesn't get that one-on-one talk, if he doesn't get a good therapist, if he doesn't get that support, that love, and if
Because
he
it's
or she,
trauma. It's trauma,
yes,
right? Trauma doesn't leave unless you work on removing it,
you have
you
to
know?
work on it.
Yes. And when you as the traumatized person are not a person who can remove this yourself, then there needs to be some kind of support. And I really try so much. I've done so many things with mental health advocacy, because bullying is for me a mental health situation. And I've done so much in this field, in the sense of let's get people to spaces where they can have these talks, to spaces where they can feel comfortable about these things, and financially as well. You come from, I mean, just the Mexican community, in the United States. First of all, culturally, you don't go to a psychologist because
No,
you're crazy.
because you
If
think
you
you're
if
crazy.
if a Mexican goes to a psychologist, automatically you're crazy. That's the first thing.
Yes,
The second thing is, generally speaking, they don't have the money to go to a psychologist because that's like $200 an hour. And if you did have the money and if you went, your own family would be like, "What are you, crazy? You're giving $200 to some guy to talk to you? I'll talk to you. I'll take $50." They mock what it means, the value of it, right?
exactly.
So education is huge. And it's not just the Mexican community, but I'm speaking with you, so I'm raising that. Education is huge. You need to break
Education
that,
is huge.
you know, that
We need to
that
break
thing you need to
chains.
break. Yeah, you need to break those chains. You're right. Because when people look at one person who needs help and they mock, that's part of bullying. When you're laughing at your own family member because they're crying, because you're crying over your hand, that's
You're just a
instead of
baby. I mean, you're
exactly.
just a baby when you're 25 and you're crying over something that you are feeling. And,
Yeah.
I think that part of this has to do a lot with our culture. And like you said, not only
Yes.
Mexican. Um, I feel that nowadays we have so many resources that a lot of people
Hmm.
can use, but we need to know where to find them. And this is
Yes.
where I come in, where I want to teach people, I want to educate them, and I want to create
Hmm.
opportunity as well.
Yes.
Once that person has overcome that stage of insecurity and now has reached their confidence, what's after that? There's so much more after that, where you
Hmm.
could use all that confidence and all that bad part, all that bad episode in life that you had to go through, use it for good. You have reached this level of
Yes.
confidence. Let's use it for good. So join me, join my move. Let's
Yeah,
become a stronger community. And I always feel like
exactly.
one person, we are just a drop of water. But if you bring so many other people into your
It's an
community,
ocean.
it's an ocean, it's something
And then it's a
huge, it's a
tsunami of
movement.
good. Yes. Yes. That's
Exactly. So
exactly that's
that's
exactly what
pretty
it is.
much my vision right now,
Yeah.
Ali.
Yeah, that's, you know what, you're on the same wavelength as I am, because compassivist is basically, the word means compassionate activist, and you have to have compassion to want to do something about it, but you have to also do something about it. Sitting at home and saying, bullying sucks, and posting it on Instagram and doing nothing about it. I don't
It's
care if you post.
action. It's the
Yeah, you
action.
need to be involved. You need to be involved. You need to
Yes.
help. You need to support. You need to do something about it. And the fact that, True Colors, you've been blessed with the crown, to me, it's kind of like what you said. It's a blessing in a sense, because
It really is.
there's many different ways you can be blessed. Like, somebody may say, I love what you're doing, Carla, here's $1 million. You can use that for marketing, for many different things, to grow what you're trying to do. But the crown is not less, because you have an international following, you have international reach. You're not just Carla from the block down the street from me, who only talks to people in this block. You have an international audience. So in a sense,
Exactly.
that blessing of that crown, that today's the anniversary of your crown, that you're going to go and return, that crown
Yes.
is forever. It gave you this global kind of space. So it's
You said something very important, Ali. It's like, if you already know me, really, I'm getting the chills. You gave me the words that my international director, Beverly Tan, Madame Tan, has been telling me every single day, because we talk almost every single day. She's told me that, Carla, because I told her a couple of days, I feel so emotional. And she said, Carla, your title, it's a forever title, because
mm,
once you took that crown, I mean, you came to Asia, to another continent, to get that crown, and you proven how much you can do for others. I feel that it's not only getting or receiving a crown or a title to say I am a Mrs. or I am a beauty queen, or I won a title. It's not that moment where you get a crown. It's what comes after that. What are you willing to do after that to prove yourself? And I don't want to say prove others, because I've never been about proving others. Ever since I was reborn a couple of years ago, I told myself everything that I do, it's gonna be to prove myself. I don't need
mhm.
any validation from anybody else to know that I'm doing something good, because I know it from the bottom of my heart. So to me, ever since I got that crown, I mean, I was already a kind person, but now knowing that I carry this compassion crown has made me even be a bigger person, because I actually been working ever since twice as much to
Because
actually
you
get
feel
to where I want
selected,
to be.
because you
Yes.
feel the universe, God selected you now. That's the feeling you get,
Yes.
right? And that feeling tells you, no, Carla, I can't just lounge here by the pool anymore, because you know what? No, I could put that time towards this. So, I have to go, I have to perform. And that's the people who are doing it right, because they feel that, they can give, they can do, and they're blessed, so they should, which is, that's the best part of it. Now, speaking of, the Mrs. International, what kind of charity work, what kind of relationship does that give you, in a sense,
Well,
to grow with?
I was just going to talk about that, Ali. Just this, well, right before my crowning moment, I was always really working hard, like the whole year, to create at least one event, into bringing money in and selecting one beautiful cause. And it's always a different cause, because I want to let everybody know that I'm open and we are open to helping just different causes. I mean, I don't just want to be all about, let's say, ovarian cancer or just cancer, which I love helping out the cancer patients. Two of my members just passed this last August from cancer. So that's something that really touches me. But I want to, touch all different areas, where I can help elderly, I could help children, I could help gangbangers, I could help homeless people, So I feel that True Colors is such a different nonprofit. It makes us be different, because we are willing to just help out. We are
Mm.
like soldiers, and wherever
Yeah,
they say, "Hey,
yeah.
there's war, you need to go," we go.
Yes, yes.
But back in the days, I was just working so hard to create one single event. And ever since I was crowned, I'm working hard to, instead of bringing one event, bringing at least 3 to 4 different events. So my work has tripled or quadrupled because of the passion that I have,
Mm,
of giving back to the community. I am not a rich person. I am not a millionaire person, but I want to say economically speaking, but I am a rich person because I have a
mm,
beautiful heart. I have a beautiful soul. And just the little tiny bit that you could do for something else, you can change their day, their month, their year, or even their
mhm,
life.
mm,
And to me, that's my purpose. Like I said earlier, I want to create opportunity. I want to be able to say I was part of that transformation of that person who was always sad, who always had a dark day because of how they were treated, because of their color, because of their race, because of their sex, because of
mhm,
where they came from, because of whatever way they look like. There's people that have lost an arm, a leg. They feel that they are aliens. They are not an alien. They're
mm,
just like us. The way you look doesn't really say who you are, or any disability that you have doesn't say, or doesn't have to do with who you are. It's
mhm.
who you really are. It's what you are going to be doing, what you're doing for yourself and for others. And
Yes.
I'm working really hard, Ali. As a matter of fact, this year I chose to work for the cancer, women with cancer. My first event this year is going to be for women with cancer because I want to honor the women that were in my team. They died on the same week, one of
Mm,
breast cancer, one of stomach cancer. And of course, always having the bullying part included, because a lot of these women are bullied because they've lost
mhm.
their
Yes.
breasts, because they're bald, because they're going through chemo. They feel not accepted. They feel like they're an alien. They feel that they're not included in our society. Women that are battling cancer right now don't even want to go out there because they're embarrassed of their look. And
Yes.
it shouldn't be
Yes.
like that.
No, no. And that
You
is
have
a
to
pandemic
understand.
of its own. That's a pandemic of
Yes.
its own because the community, sometimes, in your work and my work, when we're trying to do all this good, I take a step back and I say to myself, how awful is the world that I have to come here and try to support this person for not feeling accepted when the poor person is struggling so much with the disabilities they have just to get by, instead of them feeling so accepted by everyone who is supporting them with this situation, they are feeling unsupported or other people are stepping on them. So sometimes I look back and I say, I like what I'm doing. It's good that I'm helping this person, but how is everybody else not thinking this way? Why is this person feeling this way, with their disability and everything else? Because it's really sad, right? So it's become this indifference and this,
Mhm.
no care, no compassion kind of attitude has become the pandemic.
And,
I see it around so much.
and there's a huge difference. Here it goes. There's a huge difference about being accepted and being sorry. You know, we don't have to be sorry about someone, whatever they're going through. They're
Mm,
going through a battle, and like you say, they're already having enough with whatever they're going through. Not only throughout a sickness, but independently and generally speaking, personal life, school life, job wise, just in
mhm.
general. We're all going through different things every single day, even our children in school.
Yes.
So we are all going through different things in life, and we already have enough. For whatever reason, whatever we're going through, it's hard enough already for us to have to deal with someone feeling
Mm,
sorry. And I say sorry because they might tell you sorry in a funny way where you're feeling bullied.
mm.
I am sorry that you got that scar. And you're
Right.
like, wait a minute, like, is she making fun of me? So
Exactly.
this is why it's so important for us to understand that when you see someone different than you, or someone going through something, whatever the issue is, don't feel sorry. teach them how to be accepted, and you accept them. But most importantly in here, Ali, is I feel that the acceptance has to come from within. We have to accept ourselves before we care
Yes.
about, the
Yeah,
outer
for
world
sure. For
acceptance.
sure.
So we have to accept ourselves, and we don't need to get validated by other people. But because we are the stronger person, we need to teach those other people that are weaker than us. How can you feel that acceptance? How can you love yourself with all those scars?
Hmm. Hmm.
How can you feel okay to be short and not needed to be taller than other person? Or if you're obese, we don't know this person, what she or he has been going through. I mean, do they have hormonal issues? Do
Hmm.
they have anxiety? Do they have depression? I mean, we need to really, really think about what we're gonna say or who we're gonna hurt with our words and actions before we say. That could be you, that could be your
Hmm.
daughter, that could be your mom, that could be your dad. We
100%.
don't know. So we do need to have a compassionate heart. We do need that kindness and empathy. Always feel, try to get in other people's shoes. How would I feel if I was going through that? When we reach those levels of empathy and kindness and compassion, I think we could change so many things in life, not just for ourselves, because we become better people. And once we become better people and stronger people, we start getting this, I don't know, I would say passion. You become passionate about it. And
Yes.
when you reach that level, you're like, it feels so good to know that I could love myself just the way I am. I'm going to
Hmm.
teach him. I'm going to teach her. When you learn to actually recognize,
Hmm.
you recognize who's actually going through that in every single way. And I don't know if you were going to ask me this or not, but I thought, I mean, I've been thinking about the topic this morning before we even started. And I was like, um, what about signs? Like, what signs can we look for? I had to even write them because when it came to the signs, I kind of panicked a bit because it took me to my childhood when I was bullied. And I
Mm.
remembered, it took me to that little moment where I remember how, like, the kids would like roll their eyes at me. They would stare at me without moving their face. And I was like, I mean, do I look any different than you? Or am I, it makes you feel so insecure. And the name calling, when people ignore you, when there's physical harm, we have to pay a lot of attention to all this that we go through, and we don't even know that we are being bullied. And because of this reason, people are creating insecurities.
Mhm. Mhm.
So let's learn to recognize within ourselves, because when we recognize, then we can pay attention to our little ones and recognize what they're going through. And that way we can help them too. We're not only helping ourselves. If we didn't go through this when we were little, we could be going through it as adults now. When you're at work,
Yes.
I
Yes.
mean, my accent, and I had people back in the days when I was working in the jewelry industry, I had people calling me names like, oh, like, don't you know how to speak right? And I was like, but I'm speaking right. No,
Mm.
you're not. You speak funny. And then it creates that insecurity where you're like,
Yes.
okay, I mean, is there another language or what? Like, this is how I speak.
Mm. Mhm.
So even adults go through it, Ali. And I just feel that we need to really, really be able to recognize those signs. I mean, what am I really going through? And why am I feeling this way? And when you find out that it's that bullying and you have recognized the signs,
Mhm.
now that we have recognized our signs, let's think about the other person. What can he or she be going through?
Mhm. And
Makes
all
sense?
and that takes you straight to forgiveness, right? I mean,
Mhm.
with children a lot, what we try to do is when we recognize the episode of bullying, we try to bring the bully and the person who's been bullied, the victim, and we try to get them to have that communication. We try to get them to understand each other. We try to get them to hug it out or anything like that. And that slowly changes them as well. That behavior changes, the bullying changes, the compassion kicks in through the forgiveness, and it causes a difference. And then as they grow up, both of them, learn to use that as a weapon, to use forgiveness and love and compassion as a weapon, and you create more advocates. But when parents don't do that, or when the schools don't do that, or when nobody really cares to do that, what ends up happening is, it becomes a survival mode for the victim, and the bully doesn't understand the capacity and the pain that has been inflicted, and so they continue and they become that person, and it never really, ends until there is a space where you can reconcile and you can bring that love, full circle. And but when you're teaching us about bullying firsthand, it's very different. There are a lot of teachers, a lot of professors, a lot of psychologists and psychiatrists and other people. They write about it, they talk about it, they advocate for it, they create movements or charities and support it and all that for any cause. I find that's great. But whenever you're supporting something, I really like hearing about it from people who experience it and then do something about it, because it's a different level, for you to have to hide your arm and for you to have to live with your sister, right? Because she dropped. So there is this guilt on her part, the poor thing, for the rest of her life, thinking, oh my God, this is what I did to my sister, right? You live with that. I mean, she's traumatized too from that. She didn't do it on purpose. She's just a child as well, and it happened. But as you both grew up and you became 20 and 25, and those age grew, she's always looking at it and crying that I did this to my sister, and she can't live with it. So you have to also, as a person, as Carla, you have to say, no, honey, it's okay. I'm happy.
Exactly.
This is what makes me special now. This is me, this is my
Exactly.
distinction. And they feel okay with it and they let it go. And then you win the crown and they say, you know what? Burn or no burn, she's reached a place where I don't feel bad anymore. It was a mistake. I can let go of it. I can release myself. I can find happiness.
Exactly. It's a forgiveness.
Exactly. The forgiveness is huge. And when you speak about those things, it just grows. Everybody listening, everybody watching, they're starting to think in their own sense, in their own life. And then they start to think about you. They're thinking, oh, when she was a child, her sister did this. What happened? Did her mother punish her? Did when they grew up, where they had a good relationship? And then they start playing all of this as a movie in their heads. And then you think, where did it reach? But when you want to make it as a good story so that this is the way it should be, you start thinking of the forgiveness and of the love and of the family bond and everything else. And you hope that is how it should be. And if I ever see this, I'm going to promote that because I heard Carla's story, right? And so I think the most important thing that people can do here, aside from supporting you and being involved with your work and championing you and congratulating you for everything that you've done and you do, from being Mrs. International, because that itself is not like, I want people to understand, this award essentially is not one of those where you go on a stage in a bikini and some four guys are drinking beer judging it. It's based on a lot of substance. It's based on compassion. It's based on here, your heart, your mind, not what surgeries you had and how you walk. So um that's an achievement. It's not like you're blessed with a nice body so you got an award. That's not how it worked. It's an achievement. So congratulations. I don't want anybody to
Thank you
look
so
at it and
much, Ali.
say, oh, she was natural. It's like somebody wins a Miss Hair title. Well, most of it is natural. I mean, you have naturally beautiful hair. You're going to wear, somebody who doesn't, it's not, you can't talent that. You can't talent it. But what you want is something that has a lot of substance to it. So it's not oh, she's pretty and that's it. So I really admire you for the reasons you joined this competition and not some of the other ones, and that value system that you have is uh, what women should look up to. The girls today who are 16, who are 18, who feel validation comes through sexuality, validation comes through getting attention from the wrong ways and all of those things, whether it's social media or in public. And you see it a lot. They should take a look. They should take a look at who won Mrs. International. you know if you want to be that, if you want to be beauty, if you want to have a crown on your head and say I am the queen, well, is the girl over there the queen, or is this over here the queen? Well, this over here won the queen. And so the last time this happened, to a Mexican woman was in 1975. So you don't have a frame of reference. All you have is this. Look at this. Look at Carla and learn and grow and become that. So that's on the beauty side of things, on the International side, Mrs. International side. But on the on the performance side, it's really taking a page out of the Jesus lifestyle, so to speak, that godly living with without being religious. You could be Buddhist, whatever, it doesn't matter. But the point is, you're taking that compassion and making it your work, making it your breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And that is also at the edge of the best thing that could possibly be happening. So everybody here should at least support you, check out what you're doing, learn from you, follow you, do all the interactions that they can, that they can empower what you're doing, like you said, as a collective. Because if I can literally, using your analogy, make it rain on your movement, then you have an ocean, and with your guidance, the wave can make the changes that you need it to make, because the tide rises, and all the boats come up with
Exactly.
it, and that's what it's all about. So before I let you go, I want you to clearly tell everybody what ways they can support, what ways they can be a part of what you're doing, what your websites, your social media handles, everything that gets people to interact with you. We'll post it, obviously, like we always do, but tell people how you want them to engage with you.
Thank you so much, Ali. Well, for everyone watching us or listening to this, I hope you guys really got and felt connected to everything we spoke. I hope you felt that in a certain way, this was a little bit about you too. And I hope you guys can support True Colors by following me and my team at True Colors underscore events in Instagram, and my personal at Mrs. International underscore official in Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. These two pages have a little bit of everything. My personal has a lot to do with my community service as Mrs. International, helping the elderly, children, women. The True Colors page has more to do with the bullying, with the LGBTQ community, with raising up funds and bringing business owners to grow their business, their small businesses, and always empowering not just women, men as well, and everyone that comes across us, because we want you guys to grow. We want you to be your best version. And follow us. Our website is under construction, but it will be posted in the Instagram page very soon. Every time we do events, the cancer awareness is coming soon. Stay tuned. Most of the time we ask for your donations to cover the fees of the venue and the person or persons we are going to help out. We do show proof of where all these funds are going. We always show videos for you to kind of connect and see behind the scenes, what we do before the show goes on and during the show. I mean, it's beautiful. I always feel so connected, and I've gotten a lot of feedback from our viewers, our followers. They love to see the behind the scenes, what we do months before, prior to the event. How do we get to from point A to C? And I feel a lot of people have been connecting and wanting to be part. So if you guys want to become members too, send us a DM. Our secretary will get back to you, send you an application. It's an amazing way of giving back to the community, and you are going to grow so much as a person. You are going to get a lot of value for yourself, for your family, and of course learn a little bit of our strategies of growth and creating a community. And I just want to say lastly, Ali, as Mrs. International that I am, or as Carla, most importantly, the woman that I am, but the queen as well as one. I want to say that I hope that I also resonate in a lot of women's minds, because a lot of you guys listening or watching are probably gonna say, oh my gosh, I always wanted to be a beauty queen, and I didn't know that being on my weight, I didn't know that having all these scars, I didn't know that being this short, I didn't know that being Mexican, I didn't know that being Indian, whatever you come from, you guys can be whatever you guys want to be. And I am honored and thrilled to say that I am actually the national director for Mrs. International USA. So I will be working soon also in creating the pageant for the Crown of Compassion to send one representative every single year. So I want to welcome all of you guys to join. This is a beautiful way of growing, empowering yourself, learning to love yourself. And you guys are going to receive all the tools you guys need to become the best version of your own self. And ladies, join my move. I need strong women like I am, to carry this voice out, to use our voice and help out other women, other children, other men, your family, yourself. So please follow me on social media. I already gave you my Instagram, my Facebook, TikTok, and of course, True Colors _ events in Instagram. So stay tuned for our upcoming events. Thank you so much, Ali, for the time. I feel honored and thrilled. Thank you for sharing a little bit of who I am and everything that I do. Honestly, I feel grateful and blessed and super special on sharing this on this special day, which marks my 365
I
days
know.
carrying
Happy
that beautiful crown.
anniversary. I know.
Thank you so
Happy
much.
royal anniversary. That's what it
Of
is. It's the
course.
royal
Thank you so
anniversary.
much. Thanks to you and all the staff behind this production. I really
Well,
appreciate it.
thank you. And thank you for sharing for the first time your arm in confidence and in power. And I really want people, I'm gonna put that segment really front and center because I want people to see that. I want people to see that the queen is comfortable and confident in this way, and everybody should be comfortable in their own beauty. And that's the most important thing. So Mrs. International, Carla Marquez, thank you very much for being here as well. And everybody subscribe, follow, do whatever it is that you can to support something that's good, something that's going to good places, someone that's trying to help in good ways, and someone who can leave a broader legacy than what she has done for herself, because now in her new role, she's going to be able to coach the next generations of herself. And if we have, you know, clones of Carla going around, then you have that much more
It's gonna be
empowerment happening.
amazing.
Exactly, and that's the goal, right? So
Exactly.
subscribe here, share this, and let as many people see this so they can hear her story. Follow us on social media so we can update you on the stuff she's doing as well. Thank you for watching and listening. I'm Ali Horiat, and with Carla, we're here to help change the world. Thank you.